control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today we're covering an episode of The Outer Limits. This one's called The Children of Spider County. It first aired on February the 17th, 1964. There was like a Christmas break between this and the last episode where sort of things they calmed down a bit. However, it was at the time this was made, Joseph Stefano, the main creative sort of lead on The Outer Limits, was kind of involved in several projects at once, including a pilot that kind of had evolved out of possibly one of the episodes of The Outer Limits, and was asked to sort of repurpose it. So he was very, very busy. It was written by Anthony Lawrence, directed by Leonard Horn, cinematography by Kenneth Peach, and you can kind of see some of the issues in this one. It's not coherent. However, I quite liked it. While I was watching, I was thinking, this is a really great episode, but it kind of feels like a fever dream rather than a real episode of dramatic TV. And then when I read up about it afterwards, it's that's why. It's essentially they were trying to do rewrites as they were filming, and the second unit director was really quite confused about what was going on, and they were doing setups for scenes that had been excised, and wasting time, and they had to get film on the run almost, as it were, which has led to this being kind of a bit feverish. There's no sense of geography. There's no sense of where are these people going from and to. Everywhere they are, it always looks the same. It's very odd, even though they're constantly moving. So it's got a weird aspect about it. It is, in essence, a kind of a redo of something like the Midwich Cuckoos or the Village of the Damned, in that we find out that 4 prominent sort of prodigies, scientists, have disappeared. And the authorities are concerned because these are geniuses, and what they have spotted is they're all born around the same time. They were all 1 month or sort of slightly premature, and they all have the middle name Eros. And there's a comment that Eros is the god of Greek god of love, and there's also a comment, it's the name of a planet in so and so place. And then a 5th guy sort of goes on the run, is accused of murder, and it's a little unclear whether he did it or not, to be honest. What happened with this in this case? The authorities then find out was premature, was raised in Spider County, and is got a middle name Eros. His name's Ethan. Now, one of the things we do find is everyone kind of shuns him from the county. They're superstitious. They call him Witch Boy and things like that when he was growing up. And actually, a fight he picks is with someone about saying something about a woman or a girl. And the guy says, I never said that. I only thought it. So he's a mind reader too, is the implication. Anyway, as this is going on, some weird alien thing, in a suit, but with a weird head and hands and feet, sort of appears and starts being able to zap people with his eyes, with a sound effect that sounds remarkably like the Martian death ray in the 1953 movie. Interestingly, it sounds just like that, and its eyes flash on and off too as it's doing it. It's kind of weird. That as far as the authorities are concerned, there's a fifth person that fits that sort of description. Of disappearances. So the authorities are very concerned. Now, we then get a lot of chasing around through backwoods and country roads and stuff like that. And this alien also takes the form of an elderly sort of statesman-like man who confronts Ethan and explains that he's his father. And he wants to help him. And then, as the plot develops, we find out that he's an alien, and the aliens were sent here to interbreed with human females to produce male heirs who can then go back. Apparently, you can't have this planet no longer have male births for some reason, and it's a fairly flowery explanation. A good one. It's kind of metaphorical, which is the problem with our planet is we were focused on work. We became just focused on work, and we lost the ability to dream, and that ability to dream has affected us, and he's kind of interested that Ethan can dream. And in fact, there's one point, Ethan's got a girlfriend that he loves, and he doesn't want to leave her. That's kind of what's going on here. Her name's Anna, and he refuses to return. Now, Abel is the name of this elder man. He basically says, if you don't return me, I'm going to have to destroy you. But he refuses. Now, Eros also picks up on the fact that this Anna's father calls him a no-good dreamer. And he makes quite a long and impassioned speech about the fact that it is the lack of dreaming that makes men no good, not the presence of dreaming. And it's kind of cool. And in the end, the father decides he is not going to take Ethan, or indeed the other four men who are in his power, or are they're imprisoned by him in some way, and he leaves them all, which means the authorities get to keep their thing. There's an interesting opening monologue because it talks about the wealth of nations isn't in its resources, it's in its human, in the superior men, is how it puts it in the monologue, that it has, and the loss of these men could be a big concern. It was kind of an interesting way of putting it. Not really the emphasis of the story. It's got a kind of Ubermensch kind of vibe, a Nietzschean kind of vibe. But yeah, it turns out that this is about these aliens want someone to reseed their planet or continue the propagation of their species, but they also recognise they've lost certain traits, and by mixing their genetic material with humans, they may get some of that back. There's a bit of that involved. I like this episode. It was a bit mad. I have to say the black and white photography was amazing, considering. Now I understand all the second unit stuff might be a bit more sketchy, and as I say, it did make sense. They were shooting on the run, it felt like, and just trying to shoot things that could be coupled together into a story somewhat. Whereas the main unit did some great work. There's some really good black and white shots. There's some interesting scenes. It was acted well. The writing was pretty decent considering. Apparently, the original script was way more violent. The alien was way more violent, and also we find out the history of the boys involved fire. They were setting fire to things, and things were burning, and that was toned down heavily. And it basically both the boys and the alien Abel became more sympathetic with rewrites, and it works. It totally works. It's an interesting episode. It's not a perfect one by any means, and the alien effect when you first see it, it's kind of whoa. But after that, it kind of looks, it's a bloke wearing a mask. It's clearly a man wearing a mask. So there is a bit of that. The thing that Joseph Steiner was working on was something called The Unknown, or stroke Forms of Thing Unknown, which is supposed to be a pilot. Which there was basically a pilot of Outer Limits was somewhat repurposed for to be. Sorry, an episode of The Outer Limits was somewhat repurposed to be a pilot, but they wanted to run both, so they were like filming the Outer Limits episode and filming the pilot, but with different emphases and details in the scripts and stuff like that. But there was some crossover, so it sounds like it was a very, very, very hectic time. Stefano was legendarily used to do 20-hour work days. That's how much effort he was putting into it. Obviously, when you're doing 20 hours, there's absolutely no capacity to do anything else, but that's how it is. So a good one. This, not bad. It was episode 21 of season 1, and as I say, it was February the 17th, 1964. So I'm going to wind it up there. Before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to